prayers. Hi, I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to be doing Why I Wear. This is episode 2 and it's going to be on issey miyake. So the point of this video series is for me to explain why I wear certain brands and why I shop at certain stores. The reason why I wanted to do it is because I made a video about finding your personal style, and I was saying that it's really connected to like attaching to larger philosophies and sensibilities, and a lot of people had questions about what that meant or what examples of that could be, and so that's why I wanted to make a series on why I wear each brand. But I think it's important to say before we start, this is not like a history video or like an educational video for the purpose of being like, this is the comprehensive layout of everything that's ever happened. If I omit things, it's because they're not relevant to why I wear the brand. Like, a lot of things have happened at issey miyake's fashion house. A lot of things have happened in issey miyake's life, and I hope people understand why I'm leaving some things out. Like, not everything that's ever happened to him is relevant to me or why I wear clothes from his brand. It's about me. So issey miyake is like an artistic, ultra refined, contemporary fashion designer. I think Bonnie English said that his work converges practical style and artistic innovation.
First comes the creation of new beauty, then the continuing creation of new forms of beauty.
So the work is rooted in like technology, problem resolution, and fashion. So for the history of the brand, the aspects of the brand that are relevant to me history-wise are that he made pleats please in 1993 as I was being born. Obviously Fortuny did poetic pleats and did this like massive stretches of fabric that would be like 3 to 5 times the size of a normal piece of fabric, or the intended fabric for the size of the body, and then make these beautiful micro pleats, pleat, scrunch it all the way up, press the pleats into the fabric, and then it would make this like beautiful accordion looking fabric. And that's kind of what issey miyake like revived, and a lot of designers after. In 1993, Pleats Please as a collection and line from issey miyake comes out. He was working with it in the 90s and the 80s. He started designing for like ballets and producing hundreds of garments for ballets that were pleated, but it took a long time and experimentation to be able to make it something that he could put into production that could also be accessible, which is something I really value as well. And 1993 was the year. And I also used to collect Please Please pieces. But issey miyake, like Yasuyuki Ishii, worked for Guy Laroche, and issey miyake also worked for Givenchy. He spent time in New York for a period, and I think that this was like integral to his development as a person and as a designer. The time that he spends in New York working and grinding, you know, finding himself and working to develop this kind of like edge of his designs, in my opinion. Okay, for sensibilities, I wrote down a lot. We're gonna start with transcendence. I think I first named this longevity, but I think it goes beyond longevity and goes into transcendence. After Hiroshima, his emphasis was on like seeking peace and security and creation and not destruction. When I talk about transcendence, what I'm trying to identify is issey miyake's ability to have survived the Hiroshima and still seek beauty in the world and creativity and interconnectivity, and still be able to find beauty in a world that could hold such an atrocity that he was a direct witness to and was directly affected by. I can't imagine witnessing that level of atrocity, and so I can't say that I try to walk around with that perception every day, but I do admire somebody witnessing something like that and persevering and believing in the value of humanity and the value of nature and seeing value in sharing interconnectivity and love and joy and fun and spirit with other people through that. And I think that is essential and integral to his design process and his ethos about life and reality, which I think is really valuable. Having the belief and perspective that we can create good in the world, not necessarily to combat it, but to fill the world in general. The ability to like transcend horrifying, disgusting acts of violence that directly affected him and his mother and his life and things like that. I think it's incredible to not feel destroyed by something like that, and had perseverance that I don't know that any of us can even imagine. Okay, In fall winter 1995, he does the Beautiful Ladies show where he has octogenarians. Is that how you say it? He has older ladies. I think they're between 60s and 80s in age, and that to me is like an essential part of transcendence. Beautiful that his work is transcendent across like all axes, but especially specifically targeting age, that his expectation is that you can grow old with his clothing and with his designs, and that it's not just like these are clothes for older women, but these are clothes for anybody, and you can be older and wear them, you can be younger and wear them, you can wear them in different weathers, different contexts, etc., because of how adaptable they are. And I think that that transcendence is valuable and important to me, not just like in design and in fashion, but like I think it's a really practical way of approaching the world. Like you should have things that you're carrying with you that you expect to not just be with you for this time, and that exceed where you are presently, and I think that that's really valuable. He said that his designs transcend nationality and region, and he didn't want to be confined to any perception. That's why he was saying that he doesn't really consider himself like a Japanese fashion designer. And I think that comes from the fact that even though his work honors a lot of like Japanese cultural aspects of design and art principles and design principles, it like he said, it transcends region or culture. Bonnie English says that it emphasizes Japanese perceptions of symmetry, and like the emphasis on like the diagonal based on inner meaning rather than shape. And like there's the emphasis on negative space, which comes from 16th century China. There's another part where there's an emphasis on the Japanese belief in transience and all earthly things being embedded in ephemeral desires. To me, it seems like the philosophy behind his fashion house and the collaborative efforts that were put forth there over time were to honor the ephemeral experience of being on Earth by doing the most good that could humanly possibly be done. So I think the work seeks to connect people, to delight people, to enchant people, to encourage people to have childlike wonder and childlike joy as they are adults, to honor people's ages across all ages, like instead of only honoring young people to try to sell them things, valuing people's lives throughout their entire experiences on Earth, and to give people as much as they can. The emphasis on innovation and technology and problem resolution, to me, is to honor the short time that we have on Earth and to try to create as much joy and positivity and clarity and connectivity and collaboration and ease in life as humanly possible in the time that we have. And I think that that is the perspective of mortality at the House of Issey Miyake. And I really value, obviously, all aspects of that philosophy, if that's my correct interpretation. The next sensibility is fun. I think fun is a lot easier to talk about. I think that Issey Miyake's emphasis on fun is about universal perceptions of fun and what the people in public need, and honoring what the people in public need. I think that there's like an intense sense of practicality to his work in that way. He looks to solve problems that a lot of people have, and it does. And I think that that's the difference, that it's not so centered just on him and what he thinks, but it's like very universal. So I actually would say it's the opposite, but I do value the like silliness, and it's like a silly seriousness. Like we need to have serious fun, which is why I think I connected to Rick Owens. It's serious fun, just like Rick. So he wanted to be a dancer when he grew up, which is so beautiful and so real. Okay, so I said earlier that he stressed the importance of people being able to participate in the construction of their clothes and in the process of design in general in their lives. So next I'm going to talk about Dai Fujiwara's contribution to the House of Issey Miyake, in which APOC is developed, and it is a self-tailoring textile that was used where people could cut shapes out of this knitted, woven loom, essentially, and it would automatically create the garment. And I'm explaining why I think that's so important and contributes to the House of Issey Miyake. It was the use of cloth to make garments from a single cut of fabric, which transcends the trend, like the popular trends at the time, relies on fun and introspective personal methods. And it allows you to like radically reframe your relationship with making clothes, the process of production, your relationship with your clothes, your relationship with a brand. It's like, now you're a part of this, so what do you think about it? And he emphasized architecture in clothing, and I think that this comes back to the concept of questioning. So he made APOC, a piece of cloth, which were these giant knitted rolled tubes of fabric where you could cut into it any shape and it would become a piece of clothing that you could actually wear. It limits the amount of production as far as the production process, because you're doing the production and you're doing the design, so it's less of a stress or strain on the environment. There's no big factories for that once the knitted tubes were rolled and sent out. But it means that you get to perfectly construct your own APOC piece from issey miyake, and you have a hand. So you have a hand in the process of making the garments, you have a hand in the fun, and also you have a hand in the investigative process of what goes into making clothes, what's the best functional clothing for me and for my lifestyle, etc., etc. He told Susie Menkes in 2000, I think, he said people are waiting for something that's fun, which they feel we can create together. And also that goes into the collaborative nature of his work and his broader connection with other people and his emphasis on other people. I think when horrible, tragic things happen to you and happen around you and happen to the people that you care about, I think to still prioritize making everyone else's life better and beautiful and trying to show it where you see beauty and where you find beauty in the world with people and connect with people constantly. I think that's something I really, really value and try to emphasize. I think decentering yourself, which is very counter to the Rick Owens movement where he's unifying people around his ethos. I think issey miyake is unifying people around their own ethos, whether they realize it or not. I think people do want to create, and I think people do want to have fun. These are not fashion showpieces the way that sometimes people see designer clothes where they're I can't wear my designer clothing because my designer piece, my little blah 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 piece, because it's special, I can only wear it once in a while or for occasion. He was intentionally trying to make them adaptable for all different kinds of occasions and contexts, so you could wear it, you could sweat in it and layer it and put it on top of something, put it underneath something, and then just wash it so you can wear it another time. And again, that goes back to experimentation and having this scientific approach to designing clothes so that they could actually be used rather than just be some creative artist's work. This isn't work, these are clothes. It's similar to what I was saying about how with Rick Owens clothes, everybody makes it their own. You literally are making it your own because you're the one who's constructing the garment. And I think it comes from people who have people who don't have the fear of experimentation and trying, which I think is also really important. I think it's a real risk to express yourself. I've said that before, and it's much more risky than people give themselves credit for. And I think issey miyake lending that ability to the public to participate in experimenting with expressing themselves and being a part of the design process for such a major fashion house. I think it was a really brave, really beautiful effort that's tied to his larger emphasis on connectivity of people. In the story of fashion revolution, they say that his designs celebrate the vitality of the human body, and I really think they do. I think a lot of people like the bouncing runway shows and the ballet-centered runway shows because it's a celebration of life and movement and creation through the body, which I think is really valuable, especially compared to the really restrictive fashion that was coming out in the 80s especially, that did almost nothing to honor the natural figure and shape in a lot of ways, and a lot of people critiqued for being really misogynistic. That emphasis on fun is connected to innovation in design and technology and practical problem resolution, which are all things that I think are important to me as well. I think being solution-oriented can be connected to fun. I said that he stressed the importance of people's ability to participate in constructing their clothes and being a part of the fun. So also, the participatory nature of clothing design and him wanting people to participate in engaging fashion and clothing in museum contexts, I think are also really important. It's again, serious fun. He wanted to redefine the role of design in daily life, and I think that, again, that goes back to what I was saying about the serious fun in the Rick Owens video. I think people need to see on a regular basis things thought of in a different way for them to see that they have other opportunities for creative problem solving. If you see things being done the exact same way all the time on television, in your personal life, it can kind of limit your ability to remember. Things can be done a completely different way. You can literally flip things and do it the opposite way than you've ever seen it done, and that could just be in having a conversation to resolve something. Like if you're like in any context, you could be in the office and like trying to figure out who keeps eating your lunch at work. You might think you know how to resolve that problem based on how you've seen it on television or whatever, but you might see something weird that you've never seen before in an art museum and think, you know what, I can actually creatively solve this problem, and you could set up a trap or something like that. Those kinds of things I think are really important in showing people how they can rethink things. And I'm going to talk a little bit later in the next sensibility section about how he implemented that in his design and why I think that's valuable. We're getting to the section about questioning, which I think is connected to like technology and innovation, but I put it as questioning so it could be a little bit broader. So his entire like ethos and philosophy revolves around questioning to get to a resolution. And I think that that's not only how my personal style that's not only my approach to personal style, but I think that's my approach to everything. I think that that's like the beauty and like joy and wonder of life, not to be corny, but it kind of is, to like think about things so that you can work to fix things. And I think if you're always contemplating and always engaging the public, you can work to strategize to fix things that feel not resolvable at the moment. And I think that the constant questioning in his work and the constant attempts at resolution in his work are valuable characteristics for people to carry on with themselves in their actual everyday life. So in 1980, he does the red plastic bustier, which investigates the relationship between the body and clothing, paradoxically replicating the body as clothes. So you know that red plastic bustier, if you've had like those fashion books, like the fashion books that they have at like the MoMA design store and stuff like that, I think you can see it. It might be on one of the covers. That kind of thing to me is really valuable because it allows people to think about their relationship with clothes, their relationship with the negative space between themselves and the clothes, how clothes shape and construct our world, how clothes shape and construct our physical bodies, our relationships with our bodies. It can help you think about like mortality and, you know, inanimate objects and how they relate to the body. And all of those things can come of just like a bustier that, you know, mocks and mimics and like recreates the form of the body. And I like that. I like design like that elicits like that kind of questioning when people are like, where could you actually wear that? Where could you actually pair that? Think about it. I don't know. Where could you actually wear it? I think it allows us to think about armor and investigate structure, bodices, fashion design, garment making, garments going into production, etc. I think that's really cool. And then the rest of his design is like really practical, which I think it comes from the immense amount of questioning that he's done. He felt like fashion should advance like science and technology. Quote, this says that clothes should be there to like solve a problem in your life, and I agree. I feel like it's weird that clothes are something that people engage on such a regular basis and produce so much money in the world and also so much waste and pollution in the world, and they're not seeming to solve practical problems as much as they are tricking us into thinking that they're solving like internal problems that we have only because these problems are created for us by like the media. Bradley Quinn says that clothes should reflect the needs of a people and their culture and not just espouse the whims of the fashion elite. And I think that is valuable. I think it's interesting that issey miyake has a unique fashion house in that it has the cultural resonance that it does, but also has the practicality that it does, but also the imagination and artistic flair that it does. Like people think of issey miyake when they think of like artful fashion design, but I think it's unique in that it's artful but it is useful. This like already constructed idea of what fashion that belongs in an art museum looks like. And I think issey miyake is interesting because it's like right in between like our typical constructions of artful fashion and like, for example, the Armani exhibit, where it's like this is artful and beautiful if you understand fashion design and fashion techniques, but it's also just like practical clothing and like suiting and stuff like that. I think his clothes are so innovative because they toe that line, which I think comes from the questioning and investigation and experimentation that went into fashion design, rather than, like I said, espousing the whims of the elite and things like that, like just being like somebody's fantastical idea. The clothes serve a purpose for people, and he tried to make them as accessible as possible. in every way and as adaptable as possible so that people could actually use them, which I think is like a higher form of art and innovation and technique in fashion design than I feel like most times that we see fashion. I think it's much higher than what we see in general. Okay, moving to collaboration. Speaking of collaboration, that's the next part of the sensibilities that I really attach to. Like, he starts experimenting with how to make pleats please like as a line, and like pleats please and like pleated garments in a way that is like functional, accessible, adaptable for different bodies and different contexts. He wants to see like the movement, and the whole entire fashion house wants to see the movement. And on the point of collaboration, like when you watch the documentary that I'm gonna link below, I think it's on YouTube, it's like Issey Miyake Moves, you can see how many different people are physically working together to fold and wrap and bend and pleat and, you know, twist and turn the pieces of fabric. Like each piece of fabric, there's like 4 people twisting it in different directions, and they're like, does this work? No, yes, no. Naoki's there, he's in the studio, he's like, no, yes, we could twist it this way, we could twist it that way. That emphasis on collaboration to me is also really important, because it means that somebody who is an artistic genius trusts people. I think that that's the part of collaboration that I admire so much, is that it's so connected to trust. Like him making APOC in the first place, or the team, Dai Fujiwara and Issey Miyake making APOC, Naoki, etc., all of the people on that team trust the public, trust each other, trust themselves to have input in the design process to make the best product possible, which is like completely, to me, connected to science. Like that's how scientists are and have to be. You ever seen that documentary with Stephen Hawking right before he passes away, unfortunately? The team of people who are working toward finding these resolutions about the universe, that's like the most compelling aspect of the documentary. Not like, oh my god, they're about to find the answer, oh my god, there's this super genius Stephen Hawking. It's that he has this team, which I never knew. They were all a team. They were all working together. They all depended on each other. They all felt really connected to each other to try to find these answers about the universe. Obviously, they centralized him and stuff like that, but they all needed each other, and there were answers that some people could input and other people could input to get them to the next step. And like that is like exactly what science is. Like you need somebody else to try the experiment to prove that what you've, you know, found is true. And then if they don't, you work, you know, based on their research to go back to the drawing board. And I just think that that was like really important. And also, like I said before, he wanted to endorse the next generation of creatives. Dai and Naoki and all the other people who have been his successors at the fashion house have been so integral to shifting fashion to the point where it is now, and shifting the fashion house even to the point where it is now, and bring so many people into art and fashion. If anybody knows the story behind why Yoshiki Hishinuma and Issey Miyake were not like close after the few like collaborations that they did, please let me know. I think that's so funny. Like not drama. Okay, then he does the guest artist series, collaborating with Yasuma Morimura, Nobuyoshi Araki, Tim Hawkinson. You guys have seen the guest artist series, like with the gunpowder, pleats please dresses and things like that. That to me again is an example of trust that goes, it's like half art trust, half science trust, which is the perfect like intersection where Issey Miyake's work meets. Like in art as well, like not just at fashion houses, but in art as well, you would be surprised by how much collaboration goes into producing like these massive art pieces. Like how do you get these big art pieces into the gallery for an installation? You know somebody, you know people, teams of people bring this stuff together. You might want to create a piece of work, but you don't know the science behind it, so you get a scientist friend to help you make it so that it pumps out whatever liquid you want it to pump out. And then you get your friend who does welding to start welding the pipes for it to go through. And then you have the creative ideas, so you paint it, whatever, you know? Like that kind of collaboration that happens in art, and then the same thing with how it happens in science. Throughout his lifetime, Issey Miyake had a massive number of exhibitions in different museums and art galleries. It's like art, but it's also like collaboration. Like he wants to collaborate with the public, where the public can engage this artistic, innovative form of fashion. And again, it's for fun. It like brings everything together. It's collaboration, it's art, it's innovation, it's transcendent, and it's fun. He's like bringing all of this to the public, and he has a massive emphasis on it. Like, it's not like people are begging him, kicking and screaming to show at these galleries. He opens 2121 Design Site, and he, I think, does this to reinforce the philosophy around, again, instilling in the next generation the idea that you can innovate and you can create I don't think his intention was to have his like legacy be the end all be all, like, oh my god, I'm so smart, did you guys all see what I created? It was to show other people like, this is what you can do in this life, create instead of destroy. So this was actually in an article that I was reading about the sustainability of the House of Issey Miyake, characteristics of eco-friendly design expressed in Issey Miyake's fashion by Xiang Yan Ha and Yun Hee Lee. It's from 2012. Yeah, so the emphasis on nature comes from like constantly referencing it. And then the next one is to simplicity. That's the next like tenet of the sustainable aspects of his design. So he did years of research to develop the techniques for pleats please and for a lot of his garments to make them not only accessible for price point and all those other things, but also machine washable, meaning the emphasis was on practicality. Okay, so yeah, back to I wish I had these notes in front of me. Okay, so yeah, and then another aspect of the sustainability, like I said, it contributes to resource conservation and labor conservation, not only the APOC line, but also the production of pleats please, because they're intentionally cut in a way where it wastes very little fabric and has a very minimal impact on the environment as far as like labor and production. And again, these are things that are intentional and thoughtful. He exhibits his work as an art piece, collaborating with other artists and photographers and creatives to innovate across all axes, and he built a portfolio unique to anyone, which is why his work is so compelling. I feel like that kind of hits the point. I feel like I kind of got to the point like several times, but I think what I'm trying to say is that all aspects of the House of Issey Miyake's like design are inspiring and encouraging to me, that there is a future in creativity, there is a future in innovation, there is hope that people will work to make change in the way that we see clothes and the way that clothes can be produced and the impact that clothes can have on us and the environment and our ways of thinking and shaping our realities around us. And that's why I wear it. Like, these are all things that I do inspired by Issey Miyake, and this is part of why I wear Issey Miyake, but also part of why I don't feel like I always have to shop for clothes at all in general, like in the first place. Because the spirit of the philosophies and things behind this design house, they're so much stronger and more impactful than just buying the clothes and saying that you're wearing the clothes or conspicuously signaling that you're wearing the clothes. Like, these are things that you can carry with you every day. You don't have to buy anything, so that's how you can incorporate it into your daily lives. But this isn't about you, it's about me. That's why I wear Issey Miyake, and I hope this was interesting to listen to. I didn't have a good start to my morning, and I was really happy and excited to be able to talk about this, so I hope it was interesting for anybody else to listen to. I'm gonna be doing episode 3. But yeah, that's the end of the video. This was fun to make. As always, my stomach hurts. I'm probably gonna go on live and edit this. Love you guys, and I'll be back soon. And yeah.